So one thing I love talking about on this channel is numbers. And as you guys know, I'm a numbers guy. And today we're going to talk about the mass migration that will come out of the South into all these other states. But now you're like, Rico, that's insane. Florida and the South and all these other states, North Carolina, had the most inbound migration ever in the last few years. They did. What they also had was more storms and hurricanes than ever. And so now that alone isn't why people are probably going to leave, right? But now I'm going to ask you, before I even dive into the video, do you think that in the next few years there's going to be an exodus out of the South? And there might be a few reasons, and I'm going to give you a few, and then I'm going to go into my reasons. There might be politics, people that move because of their families. Then there's going to be the cost associated with, the South, that, people are going to leave because it's getting expensive, and a few other ones. So just let me know in the comments what you guys think, and now let me jump into the video. So my reasoning of believing that there's going to be a huge migration out of the South is weather like we've never seen before. So I just watched the news, and I'm going to share this to you in a little bit, that it rained in Florida, over 8 hours, it rained for like a month. It rained like 20 inches. And I'm going to show you this video right now.
There are 5 counties this morning under a state of emergency that includes Miami-Dade and Broward, which collectively have about 4.5 million people, while here in Aventura, hundreds were stranded yesterday under feet of water. Now, it's receded an astonishing amount just overnight, but you're still looking right now at that cluster of cars in the middle of this intersection. That is representative of many blocks all over this area. As we move forward right now, there are residents here just dealing with yet another record rainfall. A weekday washout across South Florida, unleashing life-threatening flash flooding over hundreds of miles.
This is the most water we ever had in my neighborhood.
Dumping more than a foot of rain from Fort Lauderdale to Aventura. That's where this man climbed out of the window of his car to push his vehicle through a lagoon nearby. 21-year-old Gracia Fay describing how she felt driving a car she just bought through the high waters.
Got anxious, stressed, everything.
The return of tropical moisture across the region spawning a water spout off Miami Beach, while an EF1 tornado ripped through Martin County.
Okay, now we're back. So you just saw the cars were flooded and everything, and this isn't even a hurricane. This was just a tropical rainstorm. So now I'm like, what is going on? Because all these places that these people moved in and came to Florida, the Sunshine State, because of cost of living and all this other, like family and whatnot. And these are just the reasons that I'm thinking, right? So now I'm like, okay, let's go into a little bit more numbers to back up my claims, right? Because you're like, Rico, what the hell? Just provide me the numbers, right? So I'm like, okay, here we go. Okay, so this is the following reasons why people moved. I have it right here on the screen. I'm trying to read and walk. What's actually more difficult, because you're holding a camera in this hand, you're reading off the phone, and then you have the glare of the sun in the screen. So for these people who are like, you can't walk and read, no, kind of difficult. So they interviewed like 1,000 or a few thousand people on this America Good Day Today or something like it. So why did people move? Well, first of all, better quality of life. So people moved to Florida, the South, North Carolina because of better quality of life. And depending on where you come from, yeah. The second reason is lower cost of living. And that one was accounted to 23%. But now with all this weather, all these inflation, and I think Florida had the most inflation out of any state, it's like, okay, 23% that moved from other states because of that reasons are not going to like it, because they gotta have to rethink and redo stuff, right? Man, people are flying by here. Always got to watch out they don't run you over, because that happened to somebody. So back to the video. So lower cost of living, right? Then depending on, when you moved, it's not there anymore, right? So upsizing, people want a better house and all that, so they move to the South, right? Work flexibility, living closer to family, major life changes, move with a partner, better school districts. Okay, so now I am looking at all of these reasons, right? And these people that moved, most of them have like a financial reason to them. Like you move to upsize, that's a financial reason. You move because of cost of living, that's a financial one, right? And so, and when you move to family, it's probably because you have kids. It's another financial one, right? Or you're elderly and you need you're taking care of your kids, or something like it. Also a financial one. And so the South used to be, when I lived there in 2016, it used to be super affordable. You could, eat lunch pretty affordably. You could, buy a house for a few $100,000. These days are gone now. And hurricane season hasn't even started, and we're already seeing flooding and all this other crazy stuff happening. And now, with all that happening, is insurance prices are going to rise. Makes absolute sense, right? You're thinking like, oh, it's not going to rise. Well, it is. And car insurance is one of the most expensive in the state. So check this out, how expensive Florida car insurance is compared to all these other states. And homeowners is expensive. And they just passed condo laws, so condos are expensive. So now you're looking at, so when you came from a state like New York or something, and we're like, oh, I'm going to live a way cheaper life in Florida, think again. Those days are over. And now you're just paying as much as you were in New York. But the only con is that Florida doesn't pay these high wages as New York did, right? So now you're like, oh my gosh, what's going on, right? And another thing is to consider is you're gonna these natural disasters, these heavy rain and all that isn't gonna stop, right? It's not like, oh, it's the weather, it's gonna just disappear. No, most likely it's gonna get worse, with data, right? Because AccuWeather or something already said that um their forecasts for these hurricanes have increased, right? So now we're looking at, okay, the weather's one of them, right? So it's unpredictable. And once you're having unpredictable weather, right, then there's other stuff that's involved, right? When you're starting to have flooded, shops and, restaurants, that means business owners can't do business. What means that there's going to be layoffs. There are going to be people that are going to get laid off, and they have to wait and hire people to rebuild. So in that aspect, it's pretty great because you're going to have people remodeling and doing improvements and stuff like that. But that costs money. And renovation, doing anything at your house in 2024 isn't cheap. It comes at a huge price. If you want to get something, if you're going to get renovations done good, it's going to cost you a lot of money. And it probably should cost you a lot of money so you're protected, right? And now you're like, man, so what are these people going to do? Well, there's other places in the US where you can live cheaper and not deal with all these headaches, right? And I saw people on the news saying, oh, we're going to leave Florida or, North Carolina because of politics. That's only like 10 people out of 100. So that's like not a lot of people that leave because of politics. And frankly, if you're making good money, and you have like a network established in your state, leaving because of politics isn't that big of an issue. You guys let me know if that's an issue, why you would move to another state. I don't think I would not move if the policies changed of Nevada. I just like the city. I like the people too much. I like where I live. So I would probably not move to another city just because the mayor or the governor or the policies changed, right? But I'm curious to know if you would do that. I would move if cost of living just skyrocketed, right? If it became so unaffordable in Las Vegas that I just couldn't afford anything anymore, then I would move. And I see most people do the same thing, because if you cannot afford to live where you're at, you got to figure out something. And the South was always considered to be more on the cheaper end. And now it is like a premium a premium destination because you're probably not going to own. And if you're going to own, property taxes, homeowners insurance is just going to go through the roof. And sometimes I wonder, I see these other YouTubers, walk around and talk about, what property taxes and all that's going to be. And some of those few $1 million houses have like 30, 40, $50,000 property tax bills. And for me, I'm like, holy smokes. When you have a $40,000, $50,000 property tax bill, that is more than an average salary for a house. So you need to have either been in tech, you need to have family money, or, gotten lucky and won the lottery, because everything else is very, very expensive. So just a quick reference while I'm right here. Do you guys recognize this house? This is the house of Corey from the Pawn Stars. He used to own that and he sold it. So just a little quick Vegas facts. So when I'm looking at, moving to places, I'm always kind of looking, this is how I did it from moving out of California. I'm always kind of looking to find where can I, make a lifestyle increase without paying too much, right? So how can I get a little bit ahead without, increasing the budget or decreasing it and increasing my lifestyle? That's kind of where you want to go. And the South was that. So when I lived in Florida in 2016, I moved to California because Allison lived there, and California has really, really great options for tech workers and other, like networking and all that. And that's kind of when I fell in love with the West Coast when I moved to California, and the people there are so amazing. Like the Bay Area, Santa Cruz, all these people, even the people that leave from California and come to Las Vegas, just amazing. I didn't feel that sense of community in Florida that I have in Vegas now. And so I highly, highly recommend it if you're like kind of don't know what you do, you move out west and you experience a different lifestyle and get out of your comfort zone, because there's people that watch my YouTube channel that never moved. And I encourage people to just try something new. Get out of your shell, leave your city, and try something new. For your personal growth, it is amazing. So when I grew up in Switzerland, in Zurich, before I left to the US, I lived in France, in Lyon, for a few months. And that was also like a really, really great experience, just as a life lesson to see how other countries do it, how other cities have a different style of life, how other places do things. And so you kind of get to see the best out of all worlds with kind of moving around. And now you're probably like, well, I don't have the money to do that. Well, you can find a job that does that for you. So you can actually find a job that moves you around and you go work overseas and you learn, there's American companies that kind of always, move you around, right? And so when you move around, you get to see a whole bunch of different cities, countries, and whatnot. And then you can say, hey, I'm gonna do the new American Dream 2.0, make the money in the US, and then head overseas and just live in a different country with US money. And I know people that do that because, you can live fairly inexpensively in another country on a US salary and make really good money. So the question just is your family there? Is your support network there? And if not, you should probably try it just to see how it is, because you can always come back, but you cannot, if opportunities pass, you cannot go back and say, oh, I wish I would have. So for these people that moved down to the South during the pandemic, they thought that this was a great move. They're going to save money. And all of a sudden they would run their finances. I'm curiously interested, if you watch for so long and you live in the South now and you moved during the pandemic or before, let me know if your costs are still cheaper in the South, Florida, Louisiana, Georgia, if they're still that much cheaper than the place you left. Just just for information, right? Just to get some numbers from people that actually moved there. So now my prediction is that people are gonna head back to different states that they've actually came from, because the grass is always greener on the other side, right? People always tell me, I want to do this, I want to do that. And then some people actually do it and they come back and say, you know what? This wasn't as great as I thought it would be. And I would agree. Sometimes it's not, but sometimes it can really, really be better, right? So I'm really interested to hear your opinion to see if you think that this was the greatest decision of your life, or if you're like, actually, Minnesota or wherever you were from, New York actually fit in my lifestyle better, and I want to, move back. Because there's been articles out that actually said that 80% of people have some kind of buyer's remorse. They didn't think that owning was that expensive. They didn't think that it was so that, that moving to another place would be how it is. They can't make any friends there because of, in New York it was easier or wherever. So there's so many different aspects of, when you move and why you move. So yeah. And, when I moved from California, I moved so many times. I moved like every 2 years. So when I moved, haven't regretted it, never regretted it. Actually, every time I moved, I've appreciated the other place that I've left. This is the first place that I'm actually moved to, that I'm actually generously, like, how do you feel it? Like feeling at home. And I love it. I feel like this Las Vegas is like the America of America, because people didn't really grow up here. People came here to find a better life for themselves, right? They came here because of family reasons. They want to have a bigger house. They come here because cost of living, and that's, a valid reason. So they come here and they reinvent themselves and become better people, or worse, depending on, how you look at it with the gambling and whatnot. But the moral of the story is, are people going to move? I think yes. Where are they going to go? Probably back to their home states, where they came from, where they moved from, because work remote, that's kind of done. And one thing I do want to add before I end this video is that I would have loved to take on a tech salary in Florida or North Carolina, Louisiana, Georgia, or even Texas. If you had a tech salary and you were making bank from, from California and lived in Florida, you were absolutely killing it. But now, they call you back to the office. So those days are pretty much over. And you got to now budget and find a remote job, what's super competitive, or you got to find something else that can, or jump into entrepreneurship, what opens up a whole nother bag or can of worms, however you want to call it. So yeah, let me know what you guys would do. Would you guys move back of cost of living? And would you move for politics? I don't know. That's a really, really hard one for me. So curiously interested. Thank you so much for watching for so long. You guys are amazing. Let me know if you want me to make a video on your topic, and just post it in the comments below. I try to read them all, and I really appreciate you guys. And I will see you in the next one. Like and subscribe.